Hey y'all, the Symba Luna show back again for more character reads. Today's show is another gem from South Africa, which is called Unseen, that you can view on Netflix. And again, thank you to South Africa because, wow. This show had me on the edge of my seat screaming at the iPad. Stressed. And as far as like action genres go, I really enjoy the writing around this seemingly normal person that gets involved in some very dark themes. But this show takes me back to my original format, and we're actually going to start with characters that we love. So meet Zenzi. Zenzi is our protagonist. Zenzi is also the unseen. Such a sweet person, a devoted mother and devoted wife. The premise of Unseen is that her occupations make her virtually invisible, and so no one really pays attention to her. This eventually works in her favor, because no one would suspect for her to be the one who commits several of the crimes that she commits. However, she committed these crimes while trying to find answers and while trying to find her husband. So through this journey, gratefully, we had more than 6 episodes. We see different kinds of flashbacks of her expecting, her dating Max, but also moments of her visiting Max in prison with their son, Isulu. Another character that we love is Lufuno. Lufuno is one of Zenzi's employers. She's also employed by a white woman as, I guess, a maid or whatever, but it's not that important. He actually really cares about Zenzi and does want to help her. At most, he's a good man, kind of in his own little world, so he has no clue who Zenzi really is. Well, I guess so much the things that she's done, but he does try to help and protect her. He is an author, an investigative journalist. He's also won prizes. So due to his accolades, he can afford to hire help. But for the most part, he seems like he's on the people's side. And the only other character that we really love is this sweet little boy here, Isulu. We learn throughout the show that some of the adults think that Isulu is soft. Even his father might think so a little bit. And sadly, we find out that Isulu is no more. And later we find out why is because he tried to protect Zenzi while Max was in prison. Next, we're going to move on to characters that we love, hate. And first up is Nelida. This is Zenzi's sister, who upon first meeting, we kind of see as a little shady and pretty bougie. But she definitely proved to have a backbone when her life was threatened by Raymond. And she came around and decided to try to be a resource to her sister. We learned through the dialogue that they had a pretty interesting childhood. They used to be very inseparable before Nelida ran away. At the end, they hinted that parts of their bonding together was because of their father, like it might have been a slight abuse situation. But also, is it only weird to me to use dark-skinned children to portray light-skinned adults? But anyways, she was messed up for not really being there for Zenzi when it mattered, like when Isulu died. But she comes through at the end. Next, we love hate Max, okay? Now, we love and hate this man because his mystery just caused so much commotion for Zenzi. A person like me, I hate the runaround. But apparently, he had his secrets and he kept them because he thought that was the only way to keep his family safe. For most of the show, this is a mysterious man. We're not really 100% sure what his true motivations are. Is he the man from the flashback? Or is he somebody else? He basically starts to work this job at a really shady club before he goes to prison. And because of the flashbacks, it's like, did the man change? Is it a flip-flop? Does he even love his son? Who is he? He definitely was involved in something because he agreed to go to prison for something he did not do. Come to find out, he basically uncovered a bank money laundering scheme, and he disappeared when he was released from prison because he wanted to try to find proof. And sadly, his face-off with the police did not go well because they thought he fired a gun that they heard in the distance. Even the South African police. I guess it's police all over the world. Stupid. Speaking of stupid, these are our cops, detectives. All cops are bastards. Basically useless. They didn't really do anything but fish in the wrong places and not figure things out until it was way too late. Another character that we hate is Ruben. He is basically the white lawyer for hire. He basically represents anyone with the pockets to pay him and represents anyone with the pockets that they tell him to represent. This is Enrico, also one of the first pieces of garbage that we meet. His wife is Alice. I'm not really going to pull up her picture, but they're basically slumlords. And even though he's married, he's definitely got his eyes on Zenzi. And he really takes advantage of her desperation in the creepiest, perverse way possible. While she's trying to find answers about Max, this fool corners her. And if she agrees to sleep with him, he says he won't evict her. Gag. Ugh. He becomes her third victim, and he completely underestimated her. This is another piece of garbage, the kingpin of the drug business or something, whatever business. He owns the club or something. He very much likes his drugs and likes his girls young. Definitely was hiring them and grooming them from a young age. Another one of Zenzi's victims, kinda, because she was told to kill him. He is also part of the bank money laundering scheme. He kills the person who finds out about the scheme, and he gets all his goons to convince Max to take the fall for him. And if Max takes the fall for him, the promise is that his family will be cared for. Only he doesn't uphold his end of the bargain, and Zenzi and his Sulu barely eat, barely have running water, while Max is in prison. So Max, from prison, threatens to tell everyone everything he knows and that he didn't kill the man that he killed. And instead of just upholding his end of the bargain that he made to put someone in prison for him, he tells his goons to go scare Isulu and Zenzi, and Isulu ends up dead. This is Joseph, who is one of Raymond's friends and colleagues in the little secret businesses. Later, we find out that he's Max's best friend, but now I'm like wondering if he just said that to Zenzi to get her to trust him. Because are there really like friends in these situations where basically everyone has to protect themselves from each other somehow? Turns out he was there when Isulu was killed, but he didn't pull the trigger. Joseph is trying to keep Zenzi in line and get the gun, which is part of the only collateral that she has. This one and Raymond remind me that no one can be trusted. And a lot of times they're just trying to tell her stuff so that they can kill her once they have what they need. This is Raymond. He has asthma, so this is important when he gets into stressful situations. He is another one of Zenzi's employers. He is part of like the little syndicate or whatever. He has a front with his own business, and then that's like where Zenzi works when she goes to his office. I think it's partly that he knew Max at the club, and then through Max, Zenzi got a job working for him. Zenzi steals his gun to commit her very first crime, her very first murder. And he catches her trying to put it back and really wants to use the fact that she was unseen to do all of that. The kingpin, Blessing, is pissed at him for that very first murder. So while he avoids going to see Blessing, he's trying to convince Zenzi to use these unseen powers to tie up loose ends, including drugging and killing Blessing. None of these things really go as planned because everyone's motivations are different. This piece of garbage was not only also in the courtroom when Max got sentenced, he's the one who killed Isulu by accident, because pulling the trigger on a child who's holding a gun that they don't know how to use is an accident. Honorary mention of characters that we like is China, one of the girls from the club who ends up helping Zenzi, and R.I.P. Farouk, who tries to help Max and Zenzi before he is murdered by Raymond. Overall, never really been much of an action type movie person, but I love it with black folks. Thank you again to South Africa. This one is definitely a major need to watch, and I hope we get a season 2 to figure out what happened to Zenzi. What happened to Zenzi?